Can I ask you a question?
You can try.
It's probably a series of questions. And there might be some statements in there as well.
Okay, go on.
Just seeking to understand. You know, seated exercise.
Mm-hmm.
We're sat in a chair.
That's usually what seated is.
We're sat down and we're exercising.
Yeah.
That's quite a broad statement to make. So not all seated exercise is the same, and not all standing exercise is the same, and not all dance is the same, and not all Tai Chi is the same.
Yeah.
And not only is it not the same, it depends who's dancing Tai Chi and who's sitting. There's quite a lot of variables there.
There's a huge amount, yes.
But we've got to start somewhere. And the principles of fitness training are quite explicit.
They are.
I mean, they're explicit.
And actually they stand for whichever position you're doing them in.
Exactly. They apply to all people, all posture sets, all programs. And they underpin all
fitness training, yes.
Fitness training. Not dance, Tai Chi. That's what you're getting at?
Yes.
Thanks. It underpins stuff, right? So at some point, there's going to be gains made in strength, even if I'm sat down.
Yes.
This is true.
Yes, unless you're really quite fit to start with, and then you're unlikely to be able to do enough in the chair to...
So there's a ceiling effect, right?
Yes.
I need to be appropriate to get gains in a seated position.
Yeah.
So assuming that I can't do standing work because I'm not strong enough or I'm not steady enough, I can get gains by doing structured, specific.
That's why LLT
exercise
put the sit tall, stand strong program in as a continuum and a way of building up the ability for them to be able to stand steadily and do standing work.
We've got sit tall, stand strong, right? We have a chair-based exercise, so we support it, right?
Yes, there's a place for it,
There's
it's for people who might have a condition which means that they're not going to be able to improve their balance hugely. There might be a degenerative condition, so you're maintaining as much as you can in seated position with them. You're very, very frail, for example. But the whole point of it was always to take someone who transitioned into frailty but had the ability to get back to non-frail. And there's a couple of things if you go to care home environment, which is where we set it for originally.
When you say we set it originally, what year are we in here?
We're in 1998 when we first started chatting about this. And this is because I had done a research programme, a couple of research papers published using seated strength training and seated mixed endurance and strength training.
This is pre-fame?
Pre-fame.
Pre-fame.
Yeah, well before fame ever popped into my head.
Before fame.
Yeah, and it was me, I had
before you were famous.
But somebody else was famous and I'd read some of their work over in America, Maria Frateroli, who'd done some high-intensity strength training in care home residents. She hadn't killed them off. They had been able to do high-intensity strength training, up to 80% of one repetition max.
With TheraBand?
No, they had weird bits of equipment that they built onto their wheelchairs, and but resistance could be increased on these. Okay. So, but at this point, I wanted something that was a bit more feasible. They could do at home. I wasn't aiming at the care home environment, so I needed to progress potentially the strength training on. TheraBands had become a big thing. And so
latex was big in the 90s.
Latex was big in the 90s. You didn't want to have a latex allergy back then, that's for sure. No. And essentially I did a programme with over 75s and it was seated. And the plan was to do stable strength training, not to let them think about or worry about their strength, but to make them stronger and steadier so that they could do more standing work in the future. But I didn't go on to do that because it was research trial, so I just stopped after strength training. But in 12 weeks, we brought them in once a week, and twice a week they had to do some home exercise with their TheraBands.
And they did the homework?
Yes, because they loved me, so they did. Plus I asked them every week, and I praised the people that had done it because you could see them improve, for example.
Did you use music?
No.
Okay.
No. Me, my voice and my fun and my relationship was where the fun came. But, you know, I worked them hard. So we did 8 repetitions, 3 sets of each of the TheraBand exercises. In 12 weeks, we went through practically every TheraBand resistance.
Upper limb, lower limb.
Upper limb and lower limb. And the main aim there was to improve quadriceps, hamstrings, hip work and upper body work. And within that, we have fairly small groups because then you can have the fun interactions and the chat while you're distracting them because they're on their 8th repetition and they're not wanting to talk to you anymore. So you could have the fun, and you know, my nickname was Miss Whiplash, but anyway, it was good fun. But they, over that period, many of them I was providing taxis to bring them in. And at that point, I realised that some of them had started getting the bus in, that sort of thing, and that's what got me interested in confidence, balance, falls.
Had they exercised prior to that?
No, none of them had. I just put an advert in the local newspaper going, "Would you want to take part in a research study to make yourself stronger?" And out they came from the woodwork. And it was a really lovely, and that's where I went to the YMCA, because it was an older adult course that the YMCA taught. And I didn't know very much about group delivery. I was a physiologist. I knew the theory behind strength training, but not how you interact with people, how you know. And so that's where I met Susie Dinan. So she was the course tutor on the YMCA older adult course. And I got her involved in helping me design the programme for this research project. So this is way back. I actually published that in 1995, and I did the work in 1992 and 93. So that just, you know, I'm a lot older than I look. So I'd done that programme, and then I went on, because I got interested in falls. So I sat with Susie again and we developed FAME. And then we went to the Department of Health and said, this needs to be out there, not in a research paper on a shelf with nobody doing anything.
Not sat on a chair.
Yeah, nobody does strength training with older people. Why not? Why are they so frightened? They need to be taught how to do this.
In 1995.
In 1998 we approached,
1998.
because we'd done FAME at that point as well. So we approached, Bob actually approached the Department of Health and said, help, you know, we need to get this out there. So we actually got a pot of money from the Department of Health to develop a training continuum with experts, not just ourselves, so education experts, etc. And we had peer mentoring, because there's been a lot of research in America about peer mentors. We had chair-based, with a view to get people stronger to be able to move on to standing balance work.
To stand up.
So it was always meant to be a transition on to get people confident and strong enough and have good enough stamina to be able to do your standing balance work. So then you could go do the FAME and other balance work. So it's always meant to be this continuum, not all turn up and just do chair for the rest of your life. Or more importantly, do a falls programme and then get sent to a chair programme afterwards. Yes. That's going backwards. And, you know, I always used to have a bit of a laugh. If somebody gets a bus or has a fairly long walk to get to a chair class, they don't need to be in a chair class. You might still want to do some chair stuff, some seated stuff to make sure you're stable while you do your strength training. But, you know, essentially, in order to be independent, you need to be on your feet. You need to have gravity on your muscles, on your bones. You need to. That's what keeps us independent. So chair has a place, but as soon as you get rid of the components of fitness that improve fitness and therefore change function, you need to have proper strength training. You need to have proper endurance work. They need to get out of puff. And you know, if they understand that, they do it with you. If we spend our entire life calling everything gentle, then they'll improve a little bit if they're very frail, but then they'll just stay there. And our whole ethos was to get people to be able to play football with their grandchildren and sit on the beach in the sand and have a bath again, you know, not just to stay where they are. It was to get them back to where they were. So that was the whole idea of the continuum.
So there's a place for it.
There is a place for it.
There's a place for it.
And there's probably a place for gentle seated exercise, but it's not going to improve fitness and it's not going to improve function. You know, if that's your outcome, you need to have proper fitness training in it.
Specificity.
And one thing I learned very early on was if you don't do good enough stretches at the end and you just do lots of strength training, they get stiffer. Their flexibility gets worse. And that's why you should not only ever put one component of fitness in, you should follow the ACSM guidelines. And in some instances, you'll put more endurance or more strength or more balance or more, but you should always have all of them. As soon as you do one without the others, something will go down. So you need to actually look at all of them.
Cup of tea?
That sounds good.